Hey everybody, Professor Doom here, and I want to do a follow-up on this video that I created about 4 or 5 days ago about the institutions that own most amount of stocks of almost every trading corporation, not private corporation, but trading corporations. And as I showed in this video, the three main culprits, well, actually even four if you count Berkshire Hathaway, was Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street. Now, as you will notice, the plan of the World Economic Forum is to turn this planet into all of the countries to fall under a corporate rulership or corporate power structure. And to be able to do that, you need corporations in league with you to bring this about. They're the ones who are going to benefit, so they must be in collusion with the World Economic Forum. And I am going to show you, as I showed in here, all of the corporations that were involved. The three that I mentioned are the main culprits. And I'm going to show you exactly how the collusion works. If you have multi-corporations of Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street involved in this, do they collude with each other to bring about agendas to make the World Economic Forum's plan successful for the corporations? And a couple of other questions I want to ask real quick as well. If all of the money that the U.S. owes in $1 trillion of debt, mainly to two major countries, one is Japan with $1.1 trillion, and China at $860 billion, how is it that the United States is finding billions of dollars to hand over to Ukraine to fight a war with Russia? And how is it that the United States is forking over money to Taiwan at $345 million, yet China and other countries aren't sounding off about how is the United States able to find all of this money to hand over to other countries, but not pay off on the billions, if not trillions dollars of debt owed to them? Isn't that interesting? And how does collusion work between corporations against us? If there are countries that are producing automobiles that can get 100 miles to the gallon or more on petrol, gasoline to the United States, how is it that the automakers and the oil companies have colluded with each other to manufacture automobiles that get less than 40 miles per gallon, well, maybe even less than 50, to roughly 9 or 10 miles per gallon? Well, there's a collusion going on there, wouldn't you agree? Would you agree that there's a possible collusion going on between corporations to prevent people from enjoying movies at a movie theater, to the transgender agenda, in the white privilege agenda, any other agenda that you can think of? Did you notice commercials that are showing up on TV, and now it's either it could be what's the word I want to use that is politically correct now? It's not homosexual. It is male on male, female on female. Whatever the case is, you're starting to see commercials that are mainly black people. Not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I'm showing you that there is a collusion going on out there with the white privilege agenda, as you can see. Now I'm going to show you how the collusion is being shown in another factor right here. I'm going to show you that collusion, okay? And then you will see. What about all of the bank bailouts of 2008, 2009 of the financial institutions? Who owns stock in most of those financial institutions? And why do those financial institutions now, after they were bailed out then, how is it that they have so much stock interest in so many corporations today? They were able to make money back off the bailout that they were received then, and now they own tons of stock in all kinds of corporations today. And if you look at all of the financial institutions that were bailed out, BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street own a majority of the stocks of those financial institutions that were bailed out. Let's take a look at all of the information that I'm going to show you. But before I do that, how can we also prove that there's a collusion between a lot of corporations when it comes to you making purchases in a grocery store? If you will notice, cereal makers, if you will notice, ice cream makers, if you will notice, lunch meat packing corporations, everything. I mean, milk, I guess we can't really demonstrate that because a gallon of milk is a gallon of milk. A dozen eggs is a dozen eggs. But if you will notice that when the economy started to take a downturn, what did we see? All of a sudden, corporations started producing packaging for their products at a smaller size. And they all raised their prices up to meet each other's across the board. It wasn't one corporation that came out with smaller packaging and higher prices. It was all of them. That means that there's a collusion going on because they all did it at the same time. Does everybody understand the collusion there? Let's take a look at the collusion behind the agenda of all of these corporations. And I'm going to show you that they are already being called out for another collusion for a completely different agenda. Let's take a look. Exclusive, Jim Jordan House Republicans launch investigation into BlackRock Vanguard. Take a look at my other video. I showed you the three main culprits, Vanguard, BlackRock, State Street. And if you will take a look right here, let's take a look at the Daily Caller first obtained copies of the letters, which were sent Thursday to the heads of Glasgow Financial Alliance, Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street. The very same three institutions that own a majority of stock in every single trading corporation, not the private, but the trading corporations on the stock market. They are the three main ones listed, and they're colluding with each other right here, according to the letter right here as mentioned in this article. In all of the letters, the lawmakers say the companies appear to have potentially violated U.S. trust laws by coordinating and entering into collusive agreements to decarbonize assets under management and reduce emissions. So when I made my argument in the last video about AMC theaters that were making it uncomfortable for moviegoers to watch the movie, or fire alarms were going off, or that there was a sound over for blind people, or there was the lights not going down in the movie theater, or air conditioners were not working, it had to have come from a colluded or a collusive entity from up on high. If they are colluding in this instances that they're being accused of right here, who says that they can't be colluding with each other for the whole AMC situation? Who says that they can't be colluding with each other to bring about these agendas for the World Economic Forum's plan of a corporate global governance? I'm not going to argue the whole global situation with the flat earth theory. That's beyond the scope of this video. Anyway, let's take a look at something interesting about the financial institutions that were bailed out in 2008. And you are going to see that I mention all of these institutions in my last video that I just showed you. And you're going to see a pattern develop here. Now, these financial institutions that were bailed out in 2008, the main ones, Bank of America, Citigroup, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan Stanley, Wells Fargo, Bank of New York Mellon, and State Street, all of the two main shareholders that own the shares in these institutions is Vanguard and BlackRock. Do I need to show it again? Take a look at the video that I just showed you that I did 4 days ago, and you will see. Oh, as a matter of fact, let's take a look at it just so you guys can remember. Of America, Berkshire Hathaway, Vanguard Group, BlackRock, and State Street. The very same institutions that are being accused of entering in collusion with each other. And all of these financial institutions that were bailed out now hold a lot of stock in other corporations right along with Vanguard and BlackRock. Yet, Vanguard and BlackRock holds the most amount of stocks in the financial institutions that needed to be bailed out. Isn't that interesting? And as I said earlier, there is a push for corporate governance on the globe by the plan of the World Economic Forum. And I just showed you a video earlier today about the WHO, which in extension includes the United Nations. And because of all of the plans of the World Economic Forum, extends to them as well. You're going to own nothing. The corporations are going to own it all. The corporations that are involved with the World Economic Forum have this plan with them for this very outcome. And as you will see, how is it these financial institutions recovered so well, so completely, that now they own tons of stock in other corporations? How is it that they recovered so well that Vanguard, BlackRock, and a couple of others like State Street now have all kinds of stock ownership into those financial institutions? Let's take a look at the stock ownership of the other financial institutions. Who did we just look up? Was it Bank of America? Okay, we can look at Citigroup and Goldman Sachs next. Vanguard, BlackRock, State Street, Berkshire Hathaway. The three main ones that are being accused of colluding with each other, and now they are going to own stocks in all corporations, and they can collude with each other to bring about any outcome that they desire. Target the transgender pride agenda with all of the children's clothes to go after your kids. There's an agenda there. Who's going to benefit from the agenda? That's right, the colluding stockholder corporations. Exactly. Let's take a look at Goldman Sachs. Here you go. Goldman Sachs Group, Vanguard, BlackRock, State Street. Need I say more? Oh, let me see. Oh, Morgan Stanley has some holding in Goldman Sachs, and Morgan Stanley got bailed out, didn't they? Who got bailed out with the TARP program? That's right. JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, Wells Fargo, Bank of New York Mellon, and State Street. Oh, wow. And State Street now has tons of stock holdings in all kinds of corporations. JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, Morgan, Vanguard, BlackRock, State Street. There you go again. Morgan Stanley, Bank of America. As you see, the corporations that got bailed out, the corporations that own most of the majority stock, the three top entities. And those three top entities own Target stock shares, Walmart stock shares, Amazon stock shares, in the media stock shares, in the pharmaceutical stock shares. They can bring about, with collusion, any agenda that they so choose. Morgan Stanley. Morgan Stanley. Guess who's in the top four? State Street, Vanguard, BlackRock, New York Mellon, and Wells Fargo. New York Mellon and Wells Fargo. Right there, top four: Vanguard, BlackRock, State Street, and FMR. Corporation, right here, top four: Vanguard, BlackRock, State Street, Dodge, and Cox. And as I already showed, FMRs and quite a few of them. If they were up to some very sketchy financial doings with these financial corporations, notice that the three major players are investing money with the stock market with, why would you trust them for the future if they were involved in sketchy financial practices? Not everything is as it seems, it would seem. And all of the questions that I asked earlier about the collusion with the products at your supermarket, whether it's the government producing money to countries like Ukraine or Taiwan, and none of the other countries you owe money to barking about that very fact, well, that leads me to believe we are up shit creek without a paddle for the future, because they must have been promised something later on if we are not paying them back. Does that make sense? Or maybe I just don't know the whole inner workings of the whole payment plan system for the money that we owe. I don't know, but I'll tell you this. I think we've already proved right here beyond a shadow of a doubt that with Target, with Amazon, with Walmart, with the media conglomerates, as I showed you, Disney, who are the three main holders. If they can enter in collusion with the whole, the collusion I just showed you, let's go back to that collusion right here. Collusion, letters about collusion of these three entities. They can enter into collusion for any purpose whatsoever. And who says that it's just limited to these three? There could be other entities that collude with each other. Because I said, there are freaking manufacturers at your supermarket that colluded with each other to produce products with smaller packaging, higher prices, and they did it all at once. They didn't follow in other people's footsteps. That means they colluded with each other. Thanks, everybody.